It's time for Kids Moment with Hannah. Hey, you guys, welcome back to another Kids Moment with our online service here at BCC. Glad you guys could join us for another week. Well, right now I'm working on a puzzle. Are you doing many puzzles at home right now? I know I am, but this one's taking forever. Look, it's 3,000 pieces. Honestly, I'm probably only a third of the way done, but I kind of want to give up. It's like taking too long and it's too hard. Ugh, that does look hard, right? So hard. Will this help? When the going gets tough, the tough get going. I guess. How about this one? The only way to guarantee failure is to never try. That one kind of makes me feel even worse. You know, thanks for your help, but honestly, I've been thinking, is that all it takes? I mean, sometimes in life, I feel like things are too hard and a catchy phrase is not all I need to keep going. You know, I know of this really great story in the Bible when some of Jesus' disciples needed some major help to finish what they started. Want me to tell you about it? Sure, why not? Great, okay. Well, to tell the story, we just need some sound jars. Whoa. These jars contain sounds that will help us tell the story. All you have to do is to open the right jar at the right time. Think you can do that?
Unstoppable!
Does this answer your question? Great. Okay, then here we go. The story of Stephen. You might remember 2 weeks ago, we learned about a story called Pentecost, when the early church was formed and many of the people started to become followers of Jesus and join in. The numbers continued to grow like crazy, so much that they realized that they needed even more leaders just to help them care for the needs of the people. The leaders came together with an idea. Brothers and sisters, choose 7 of your men. They must be known as men who are wise and full of the Holy Spirit. We will turn this important work over to them. So, 7 men were chosen.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
One of these was a man named Stephen. He was described as full of faith and the Holy Spirit. They were off to a great start, and with these new leaders in place to help with the needs of the people, it really looks like as if there is nothing that can stop the growth of the early church.
Unstoppable!
That is until a group of Jewish people from outside of the church began to oppose Stephen. They tried to argue with him, but he was kind of too wise for them. That's because the Holy Spirit gave Stephen wisdom whenever he spoke. This did not go over so well, and so then in secret, they talked to some men into lying about Stephen.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
These men said, "We heard Stephen speak evil things against Moses and against God."
He did what?
They are making up lies about him. This is a pretty big deal. So the people were stirred up. The elders and the teachers of the law were stirred up too. They arrested Stephen and brought him to the Sanhedrin. They found witnesses who were willing to tell lies. These liars said, "This fellow never stops speaking against this holy place. He also speaks against the law."
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Can you believe it? They found people who would lie about Stephen, saying that he is completely against their people and traditions. Well, all who were sitting in the Sanhedrin looked right at Stephen. They saw that his face was like the face of an angel. The high priest, who is in charge of the Sanhedrin, turned to Stephen with a question. He asked him if what the people were saying is true. He may have regretted asking because Stephen's answer is one of the longest speeches in the book of Acts. And he begins by reminding them of God's story all the way back to Abraham, the father of the nation of Israel.
Leave your country, your people, Go to the land I will show you.
And talks about Abraham leaving even though he didn't know how God would fulfill his promise. Abraham had Isaac, who had Jacob, who had 12 sons. Stephen told the story of one of those 12 sons, Joseph.
Look at that silly colored coat. Get him!
About how he was sold into slavery into Egypt. He told them about the growth of the Israelites in Egypt that led to their oppression, and then the rise of Moses, their deliverer.
Let my people go.
Finally, the people arrived in the land God had promised. Stephen went on to tell the religious leaders about King David, who loved God so much and wanted to build him a beautiful temple. Then he says, "You stubborn people! You won't obey! You won't listen! You are just like your people of long ago, don't you see? You always oppose the Holy Spirit. Was there ever a prophet your people didn't try to hurt?" Whoa! Stephen summed it all up by saying, your work is against God's work. And there is no greater example of this than in the fact that this same group had been responsible for sentencing Jesus to death.
Mic drop!
Even though Stephen spoke the truth about Jesus, the religious leaders were very angry. God knew what was in their hearts, so he gave Stephen a vision of heaven. Stephen looked up and saw Jesus standing with God. I'll tell you what happens next. It was very sad. The religious leaders dragged Stephen out of the city. They left their coats with a man named Saul. They all started throwing stones at Stephen, trying to kill him. Even though Stephen had only done what was right, he died that day. Can you imagine what it must have been like for those other followers of Jesus in the church? I bet they were confused. I bet they were even scared. Maybe some thought about calling it quits. After Stephen's death, the followers of Jesus moved away from the city because it became so dangerous. But as they went, they continued to share the message of Jesus. In other words, Stephen's death is not the end of the story, but a new beginning. Could you imagine if the church had just assumed this was the end and stopped the mission right then and there? But because they didn't assume the ending, the message of Jesus continued to spread in powerful ways. Do you ever find yourself here in that place of fearful, scared, being sad? Remember, the early church felt the same way, and God used the changes in their community to start a whole new story that was bigger than the followers of Jesus could even imagine. You never know how God might use the time we live in to write an incredible new beginning, if only we persevere and we trust Him. Well, that is it for the story. Are you ready to persevere and head back to that puzzle? Yeah, I guess finishing a puzzle isn't nearly as hard as telling everybody about Jesus. All right, bye. Okay, well, final question. Are you wanting to give up on something? And how can you persevere and trust God? Think about times both big and small, now and in the past, when you were scared or anxious or unsure of what was happening, or didn't know if you'd be able to keep going. Well, keep going, because God knows the end of the story. And this current struggle may just be the beginnings of an even more incredible plan. God might even be starting something totally new. Paul said it perfectly in a letter he wrote to the Galatians. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. As always, I miss you guys, I love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye!